Reality works. That is the fact so obvious it almost disappears. Objects persist. Causes produce effects. The universe follows patterns stable enough to allow prediction, memory, and life. This functioning feels so natural that it rarely attracts attention. Science builds on it without questioning it. Experiments assume repeatability. Theories assume consistency. Observation assumes a world that holds together long enough to be observed. But step back for a moment and the assumption becomes strange. Why does reality work at all? Not how it works, but why it works in the first place. This is a question science quietly avoids, not because it is meaningless, but because it lies outside what science can address. Science explains how systems behave given laws and conditions. It does not explain why there is a system capable of behavior. It does not explain why laws exist, why patterns persist, or why the universe does not dissolve into incoherence. The fact that reality is intelligible is taken as a starting point, not a conclusion. This starting point is rarely acknowledged because questioning it destabilizes the entire enterprise. If reality did not work, science would be impossible. So science assumes functionality and moves on. But assumption is not explanation, and the absence of explanation matters. The universe did not have to be stable. It did not have to obey laws. It did not have to support structure. Chaos without pattern is logically possible. A reality where events occur without consistency, where causes do not reliably lead to effects, where memory cannot form, where prediction fails. Such a reality would not allow observers, but that does not make it impossible. The question remains, why is our universe not like that? Why does it support order rather than collapse into randomness? Physics describes regularities. It does not justify them. The laws of physics are discovered, not derived from first principles that explain their existence. Even when deeper theories unify laws, they still assume mathematical structure, logical consistency, and stable relations. These assumptions are never explained by science. They are prerequisites for it. Science operates inside a functioning reality. It does not account for the fact that reality functions. This avoidance is subtle. Scientists rarely deny the question explicitly. They simply reframe it into more tractable forms. Why does the universe work? Becomes, how did the universe evolve? Why do laws exist? Becomes, how do laws behave? Each reframing preserves scientific method while sidestepping the foundational issue. This is not dishonesty. It is methodological necessity. Science cannot step outside reality to justify it. It can only describe what happens within it. But this limitation leaves something unresolved. The universe is not just there. It is there in a way that allows comprehension. Mathematics maps onto reality. Experiments repeat. Predictions succeed. This alignment is not guaranteed by logic alone. It is a fact about our universe, and it is one of the deepest facts we know. Some try to explain this by necessity. Perhaps reality must work. Perhaps inconsistency is impossible. But this claim lacks proof. Logic allows many inconsistent systems. They are simply uninhabitable. Others invoke selection. Only a working universe can host observers. This anthropic reasoning explains why we observe a working reality, not why a working reality exists. It selects, it does not explain. The question remains unanswered. Why is there a lawful universe rather than no universe or a chaotic one? Even the idea of laws presupposes regularity. Laws are not entities. They are descriptions of consistent behavior. For laws to exist, behavior must already be consistent. Science describes the pattern. It does not create it. The pattern exists before description. This is the quiet miracle science relies on. Reality is stable enough to be studied. Without that stability, explanation would be impossible. This stability is not explained by the laws themselves. It is what the laws describe. The circularity is hidden, but real. Laws explain behavior because behavior follows laws. But why does behavior follow laws at all? Science cannot answer because answering would require stepping outside the framework of law-governed explanation. This becomes clearer when you consider breakdowns. When laws fail or change under extreme conditions, science does not panic. It updates its models. But even these updates assume a deeper regularity. Phase transitions follow rules. Symmetry breaking follows rules. Randomness is constrained statistically. At every level, when one pattern fails, another takes over. Reality never fully abandons structure. This suggests that lawfulness itself is deeper than any particular law. But science has no concept of lawfulness as an object of explanation. It takes it as given. This avoidance is not a flaw. It is a boundary. Science is a method optimized for describing regularities. Asking why regularity exists is like asking a map why there is land. The map can show you the terrain. It cannot justify its existence. The fact that reality works is prior to science. It is the condition that makes science possible. Acknowledging this changes how you interpret scientific success. When a theory works, it is tempting to think it explains everything. But every explanation rests on the deeper fact that explanation is possible at all. That possibility is not explained by the theory, it is assumed. The more powerful science becomes, the more invisible this assumption grows. The universe behaves in ways that allow compression into equations. That compressibility is not trivial. It is a property of reality, not of human ingenuity. Mathematics would be useless in a universe without structure. Experiments would fail in a universe without repeatability. Prediction would be meaningless in a universe without stability. The success of science therefore points to something science cannot explain: the existence of a stable, intelligible world. This does not mean science is incomplete in a practical sense. It means science is not foundational in a philosophical sense. It does not ground reality. It describes it. The question of why reality works at all remains untouched. This question matters because it shapes humility. It reminds you that understanding has preconditions. It prevents the slide into the belief that explanation eliminates mystery. Mystery does not disappear. It relocates. Science removes mystery from behavior and reveals mystery in existence itself. That shift is often uncomfortable, so the question is avoided. But avoiding it does not make it go away. It simply remains unspoken beneath every experiment and equation. Why reality works at all is not a question science can answer, but it is a question science depends on. That dependence is not a weakness. It is a reminder that explanation has limits. The universe does not owe us a reason for being intelligible. It simply is. And that fact, more than any equation, may be the deepest truth science encounters. This is Veritas Labs, where truth is tested.